Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here today to give you a look at a couple of budget alternatives to Apple's Airpods. And when the Airpods were announced, I think a lot of people were intrigued by the concept of truly wireless earphones, completely getting away from any kind of wire, including the connecting wire. And for someone like me who runs or does other fitness-oriented things, sometimes even with the wired Bluetooth headphones that have a connecting wire in between, typically where the control/battery resides tends to bounce up and down and just kind of minimize the experience, starts to pull to where after a while you're readjusting headphones. And so the concept of a truly wireless headphone is intriguing. But of course, most of us don't want to shell out the $170+ for a set of Airpods. And so if that applies to you, I'm here to look at a couple of alternatives that will set you back a whole lot less money. I've spent several months with both of these sets of headphones and tried them in a variety of different settings, and kind of similar proof of concepts with slightly different results. So the ones that I took a look at first were the Syllable. These are the S9X is the model, and their idea is that kind of like Airpods, they have a a charge type case with them, but in this case the actual batteries themselves are switch out and replaceable. And so the way that it works is that basically you're syncing, which I see that right now already on my phone, it started to sync up, that as you add the batteries to these, it will begin the pairing process via Bluetooth, and away you go. So the concept is that as the battery starts to wear down, you simply pop off the battery, you drop it into the little charging area, you grab another battery because there is a set of spares. And so you actually end up with a total of 4 batteries, so you have equivalent of 2 batteries for each earphone. And so that allows you to get, although you don't have a long battery life with each battery, you get about 90 minutes. The theory is that if you continue to utilize your little charger here and you have it along with you, that it can recharge about 4 times per battery. And so in theory you could get all day and plus kind of listening time out of them by utilizing that. One quick note on the actual charge case itself. Some people I noted in the kind of the user reviews and feedback, they'd gotten a little bit confused because they thought that their batteries weren't charging. And the language there can be a little bit ambiguous, so I understand where the confusion comes from, but just note that you can actually see, if you look at the fine print here in the actual charging case itself, that there are 2 ports here that are actually actively charging. The other 2 are just storage. They're the extra pair that has already been charged and is waiting to add on. So let's talk about a few of the strengths of this particular approach. One is the fact that I found that these headphones right out of the box, they are actually a nice, snug, and comfortable fit. And that was true even if I was working out with them. And so I found that they stayed stable, and even if I was doing very active things, kind of high intensity interval training, that a lot of bouncing around and moving, they stayed seated very nicely in my ears. That was a big plus. One negative though I found as a part of that is that at one point I was just brushing my face, maybe brushing some sweat off. It wasn't all that difficult. These connect magnetically. It wasn't that difficult to kind of knock it free. The problem, of course, is once you knock it free, you have no power to the unit. Thus, it might begin going through the pairing sequence again. And depending on what your source material it may be that your source very likely has turned off. And and depending on your luck in repairing, it may repair just boom like that, and it may not. And so I found that provided a little bit of a frustration there. So I consider the replaceable batteries to be kind of both the strength and the weakness. It seems like a great concept that isn't really perfectly fulfilled yet. Now, these are considered to be good for working out, some kind of sweat proofing, but I didn't actually find any kind of true IP rating anywhere on them. And so, you know, you probably could run in the rain with them. I don't know that I'd wear them in the shower though, without any kind of true rating to test that. And there was nothing that I was able to find in any of my research to suggest that. Now, one downside to any of these approaches here with these truly wireless ones is that you tend to lose a lot of finite control, particularly when it comes to volume, turning up and down. And while you do have the basic, you know, kind of one touch, does a lot of things, play, pause, power, you know, off, although in this case, all you have to do is disconnect the battery to power them off. You know, accepting a call, all of those kinds of things. But that's basically it. You've got one button. And then beyond that, I also found that, of course, while you can, you know, swap these batteries on an ongoing basis, with some of these truly wireless headphones, you can go about pairing just one of them. If you want to, like for me, sometimes listening to audiobooks, you could switch over to the other one. You can, you know, basically charge either or. That's not necessarily necessary from a battery perspective here, in that you can always, you know, you could just swap all the batteries onto one. But it does mean that if after a while you would like to move to a different ear just for comfort's sake, it doesn't work that way. I believe it's the left unit that needs to be paired if you're using it just in single mode. An upside to actually both of these units when it comes to kind of the nature of them, that they have to be very quick in terms of their communication, their Bluetooth signal and transfer of data to be synced without any kind of cord connecting them. The upside of that is that I find that these type truly wireless headphones, they tend to be better than a lot of traditional Bluetooth headphones when it comes to lip sync issues. That can be an issue with Bluetooth when it comes to watching video content, where there can be a little bit of a lag between the movement of lips, for example, and the sound reaching your ears. I find that in both cases, that's not an issue with these, and I think it is because of the nature of how they have to communicate the data. Now, this little charging case, obviously it's a slick idea, and there is a micro USB port on it, and so you can charge that periodically. And so if you'll do that, then you know you can have portable power to power your actual battery units and keep them charging. One kind of downside here that maybe wasn't fully thought through is that it's great for storing the batteries, but you still have the actual headphones themselves that don't fit into that case, which leaves you going back to this kind of molded case, which is much, much larger. And so there's a big difference, obviously, in the portability that comes with that. And while it's a nice case and everything stores in there nice, or you have the alternative of using this little kind of pouch type thing. But, the actual form factor, if you're using the whole case, is a little bit larger. And so, that could be better. The actual charging case itself is a 400 mAh. And so, it has enough charge there, as I've said, to recharge the batteries about 4 times. Now, in terms of the sound quality, I found the sound quality to be good, but not exceptional. And in both cases here, I would say sound profile is somewhat similar, and that the sound is good, particularly after they've been broken in. They didn't sound fantastic at first, but after I'd listened to them for a while, this time of year, winter in Canada, things arrive to me. They've been really, really cold in the courier system. And so as a result, they really need to be warmed up and broken in and listened to for a while, so all the drivers can kind of move as they should. And so after they were broken in, the sound quality improved, but I never found that they had the high-end crispness that a really great set of headphones has. And so bottom end, pretty decent, mid-tones, pretty decent. And highs, certainly nothing kind of brittle or artificial, but also there seems to be just a little lack of clarity there on the high end. But, really for the most part, the sound quality is pretty good. And if you're using them for exercise or whatever, works quite well. Our alternatives here are called the S2s, and they are sold under a variety of different brand names. Now, right off the bat, you'll notice that the form factor is very different. And in some cases, it almost looks like kind of a lipstick with kind of that anodized metal finish on it, kind of a brushed, I shouldn't say anodized, more of a brushed metal finish on it. And I really like the form factor here. Obviously, it's very small enough to fit in your hands. And while there is magnetic here. The magnetic is just really to hold these in on either side and so that they charge. And so you've got a different approach here, and that while you don't have detachable batteries, you can't kind of replace the batteries. Each one of these units itself is, it'll take about about a 4-hour runtime per unit. And in this case, you can sync either or. And so if you're listening to an audiobook or something like that, where you only listen to one, you can listen to one for 4 hours until it's fully discharged. You could put the other one in and listen for 4 hours. And of course, the cool thing is once again, you've got your own portable charging unit here, and so it takes about an hour for them to recharge. And in fact, the actual power bank itself is basically double the rating, and so it's 850 mAh, and so it actually has a pretty decent amount of charge power, and they can be charged again and again and again. The other thing that's really cool about this is that on one side it has got a covered micro USB port where you can charge the battery pack itself. But the cool thing is on the other side it has an out, and so it has a full-size USB port where you could actually even charge your phone off of that, kind of in an emergency situation. Obviously, 850 mAh isn't going to be, wouldn't work maybe as your full-time phone charger, but in the case of emergency, your phone or whatever else, you could power off that. And so that is a really cool feature right there. Now, I noted that right out of the box, the D9Xs, they fit really nicely. I didn't find that the S2s, they fit quite as well. However, I was able to easily fix that by adding on a memory foam, Comply memory foam tip, which by the way didn't come with it, but I added cheaply. And what I found is that after that, it was really a great improvement. For one thing, the fit was tighter, and as you can see, it fits really tight now, and there's no movement at all in it. It stays in really nicely. I found that going to the memory foam tips also improved sound isolation and thus sound quality. And so it blocked out external sounds, and I found I got more low end out of the headphones once adding that, and they became a very comfortable fit after adding in the memory foam tips to them. And so you might consider that as a suggestion for that. Now, obviously, these are quite low profile. They're quite small when you put them in. Comparatively, they do stick out a little bit, and I will confess that my kids have accused me of looking like Frankenstein with them in. The price you pay for portability, I guess. But the fit is comfortable, and they have worked well while I'm exercising or doing whatever that I'm doing with them. As previously noted, they work well with the lip sync type issue, and so that works well. The limitations that I mentioned previously still apply. You have to control sound volume on your actual device, but of course, it's got the one button. And the nice thing here is that you can use either or to play, pause, receive calls, whatever. And both have a microphone built into them, and so you can do hands-free calling from both of them as well, which is nice. And even nicer here is that the case itself is designed to be, moisture resistant, and so that's why everything is sealed up well there. But on top of that, there is an actual IP rating on these headphones, and it's a fairly robust one. It's an IP67, which makes it waterproof and dustproof. And if you look at the IP67 rating, it says that it can handle being submerged. It's tested to be submerged at 1 meter or a little over 3 feet for up to 30 minutes. And so technically, you probably could even swim with these in if you were careful and not underwater for extended periods of time. And so obviously a pretty cool plus there as well. And so, this is kind of my preferred approach here for a couple of reasons. I find that, as I noted, the replaceable batteries on the D9X can be a little bit it could be, a little bit of an issue, a little bit complicated to use. These I find just work kind of better for me out of the box. I like the very portable form factor, very easy to slip into a pocket or, a camera case or briefcase, whatever you might be taking along. And they work really well. I found that on both of these actually, the range seems to be getting better and better. And so, they're usually rated at, 30 feet or so. I'm finding that I'm exceeding the rating in a lot of situations and having very little issue with signal interruption. And sometimes I reach for my phone because I've had no issue with any kind of breakup of sound and realize that my phone is somewhere else, but they've just worked so well that I'm able to keep a nice sync, moving around the house, even on multiple floors, and so that works well. Now, one last thing to consider, and I'll throw linkage to both of these down here because you never know what might work better for you. My preference may not be your preference. But, an even kind of nicer thing about the S2s is that they run only around $45 US. And so, you can almost buy 4 pair of these for the price of AirPods. And then the D9X, they run about $80. And so, again, you can buy almost 2 pair of these for the price of the D9X. And so, as a result of all those things, if I'm going to, kind of recommend one of these two, I think I would go with the S2 because I think that, value for money is pretty high there. This is a great form factor. Sound quality is roughly about the same. Slightly different approach to how you get your airtime, but both of them, employ the concept of having a charging device. I just find that this is a little bit more practical. And of course, that added bonus of having with you, very likely, the option of charging your phone in an emergency situation pushes the S2s over the top. I'm Dustin Abbott, and if you'll take a look in the description down below, you can find linkage to purchase either of these headphones. You can follow me on social media. You can become a patron. And of course, if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.